One of the things I noticed, Kent, about you is that you are starting to use creative language. That only took a couple of months, you know? You're using it a lot. You're changing your language and you're changing your approach in conversation, and I think in work too. Well, I know in work because you're getting these results and these conversations are ongoing as a result of the work. But I notice a shift in how you speak. Do you?
Well, in episode 3, we talked about it. It changes the way you think. I think we mentioned Microsoft trains you to think in terms of Excel. Mm-hmm. This process has changed the way I want to gather information horizontally before you communicate all the things that, shut down communication. You want to gather information. You want to learn before you decide. You want to, and so it changes the way.
Well, more than learn, I would say you want to explore before you decide.
Fair enough.
You want to explore what might be, then I'm going to make a decision, right? So when you look at like the board of all the coffee choices, they're all there for you. You can, and in fact, it's even hard because, you're at the front of the line and you're supposed to decide, but you got all these choices. So you're like, I'm already confused because I was like, what is this? What is this? I don't know. Lady, just make the order, right? Something like that. So I feel a little stressed when I get up there sometimes if it's a place that I don't know what it is, because I want to look at all those choices and I want to look at all those options before I make a decision. So that's kind of the approach generally, is to explore before we decide.
And fair enough. And what we do is we get to that board, we look up and we say, well, I don't know what to choose, so I'm going to choose the same thing I had yesterday because that's simple and quick. So that's the same tool that I had in my toolbox. But what you've done is put a different tool in my toolbox. I'm starting to get comfortable with it. I'm starting to say, hey, I could choose that one.
Good, excellent. So tonight we want to talk about something a little different, which is moving toward that desired future state. So when we started talking, I know, and everybody knows now, that this company is transitioning from this current leadership to new leadership. And there's a challenge around, well, what does that transition look like? And then also, what is the trajectory for that new leadership and going forward for this family disguised as a business? Am I right?
That's correct.
Something like that.
That sums it up well.
So one of the tools that we talked about, and we have our props here from our actual session, was, just a very simple tool. It would be great if. Right? And sometimes people think it's like trite, but it's actually really, it puts us into a space that's just positive, that's open, that's forward, that's imaginary. Yes, we can say it. So it would be great if what? And when we started this podcast, like, it would be great if the conversations that we had on the phone could be available for people to share and to listen. And that's actually why we're here.
Yeah, and same thing, it would be great if other small, medium-sized business people that maybe grew up through their own business, through the ranks, if they really understood this tool. It'd be great if they really could use this as a way to move America forward, not just their business. This moves America forward. This moves people forward. And so it would be great if. And one of the things that's great is it comes from, again, the horizontal. It would be great if it comes from the horizontal platform, which is not outside the box thinking. They get it. This is the constraints of the company. This is how big we are. This is how small we are. So it's inside their world. It would be great if we could. It would be great if the company. It would be great if. And so it seems trite. It seems simple. But it really brought clarity to what I needed to do in order to make the transition helpful to the new ownership, helpful to me and my future life, my vineyard. If it would be great if I knew exactly when this transition date was going to come, and I felt comfortable that it was going to come with some kind of solid vision. But it would be great if I could say to my grandchildren, hey, look, December 1st, Grandpa's going to have more time to give to you. It would be great if I knew, look, come next year, you can feel comfortable planting another 5 acres of grapes because you're going to have this time. It would be great if I understood the transition plan myself, but it's too fluid. But what's great is if I can start to have that conversation, it would be great if then we can say, okay, now we have a goal. This is the transition time, plan, earmarks that we would like to see before we hit that hard stop.
And so what do you think is the value then of saying it would be great if? What has that brought you? And I know you have some other examples from a session at work. So, but what is this bringing to you? It would be great if. What is it doing?
Well, for me, it's bringing clarity to my future. This is what we need to accomplish before I feel like I can turn the baby over. This is what we need to have basically in place when I become a full-time farmer, right? I need to say, this would be great. So, okay, how do we get there? And then we have a vision, shared vision, if you will, with the new ownership, myself, the team. This would be great if everybody understood and had comfort and had the same shared go forward vision.
And so, and why this is also important is because, when we vision, we're in a desired future state. We know visioning works. I mean, athletes, getting back to creatives, performers always envision their what they were deliver. Nobody ever does it just cold, right? So that visioning shows up in creativity among artists all the time. So again, we can learn from the actual world of creativity in terms of performance or output, if you will. But bringing that back into the work environment, when we vision ourselves completing, or vision ourselves on the porch, or vision ourselves being successful, or vision a happy, successful business, we're in a place where it's positive, where we desire, and now we're starting to create like a magnetic force subconsciously that's going to pull us there. That's really what happens. Right? We start moving in a direction without even realizing it. What were some of the other things you noticed?
So one of the things is, and it took a lot of thinking from that point forward, and it became kind of what you did is you said, would it be great? Wouldn't it be great if? And then we kind of categorized them after that and put them in separate buckets. But one that got a big bucket. What does winning look like? Yeah, if it was a win, but what does winning look like? So wouldn't it be great if this was a real winner? But what's the winning look like? And so, well, wouldn't it be great if we were a leader in technology? Wouldn't it be great if we were the preferred design build company for major bridges or for sign structures? Or wouldn't it be great if our product was widely distributed up and down the West Coast? Those help me understand, well, wouldn't it be great if this was a win for this next generation? What does that mean? What does that win look like? Oh, wouldn't it be great if we did all these things? That would be a win. So again, I think what that vision does is it clarifies kind of what that future, I think you use the word future state, but what does that future state look like really? And helps you understand, okay, well, these are the things we still have to there's our goal. There's our direction.
Well, it starts to paint a picture of what might be, right? What could this be if it goes the way that I imagine it most successfully to be? And that starts to get me excited and motivated. We talked a little bit about that. And when everybody contributes, now I have a really a sort of a united horizontal front moving forward, right? And we talked a little bit about that in the last episode about everyone being on board in a more horizontal environment. One of the other things we can do with this tool, it would be great if, is we can look at it another way. And perspective taking is a very important creative thinking tool as well. And so we could also say it would be awful if, and we talked about this in the last episode, where lots of companies, when they transition from one leadership to the next generation of leadership, typically there's not that success, right? So it would be awful if we follow the trend and we're not successful.
Yes, that's right.
Right?
It would be awful.
It starts to bring some clarity and some broader perspective on, well, what could this desired future state be if we don't become more intentional about it, right? It would be awful if it falls apart, which is what often happens when the leader leaves, because like you said, you have the network, you have the friendships, you have the experience, you have the, right?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I think that's putting the shoe on the other foot, but it's actually leads to the same thing. It helps create that vision of, wouldn't it be awful if, wouldn't it be great if? And yeah, it identifies all the awfuls that could be out there. But I think that the result of visioning through that process, wouldn't it be awful, that it's kind of a negative, but wouldn't it be great? But it outlines both, right? It would be awful, but here's the things that are great. Look, wouldn't it be great if, and these are all maybe projections of things that are better than they are today. And so that's growth. That's your visioning growth. Wouldn't it be awful? Well, that's recession. That's regression. That's going backwards.
Oh, and that's where you don't want to go.
That's where you don't want to go.
So when we say it would be great if, I mean, to be clear, we use this in email, we use this in conversation, and it really changes, again, the situation and the conversation and the energy, right? I mean, we're all we are is energy, right? So if I say, wow, it would be really great if this podcast is a success. Yeah, it would be great. Right? So now already I'm in that space like, well, what do I got to do to make it great?
That's true, but we don't usually plan around that, right? We don't usually sit down, well, until I was introduced to this tool, I don't think I've ever sat down and said, okay, let's just use that. It would be great if, and then envision it, right? It'd be great if, simple thing. But you don't just sit down and say, it would be great if this company did all these things. You don't often just stop and say, okay, because it's a great exercise, because now you see growth. You see all the things that could be, but it's not something that's just typical language, right?
That gets back to what creative leadership is all about. It's a language. It is a language. It really, truly is a language. And to be clear, we can use this again. It would be great if when my relatives come, we have a really wonderful memory at the end of it. Now I'm setting myself up for my future state. Well, how might I get there? Well, then I need another tool for that. But certainly when I set an intention, then I'm already thinking forward. And I really love what you said. If it would be awful if is going backward, negative, bad, I don't want that. So if I'm thinking about what's good and what's forward and ahead of me, now I'm more upright. Now I'm more moving in that direction, right? And that's really what leadership, well, when we think about creative leadership, it's more about moving in a direction of intention, right? Which is fluid. Remember, we're in a fluid environment. So I always want to be assessing where I am and then thinking about, well, it would be great if what? I can come out of this problem in a way that makes everybody feel like they're included. That's great.
And one of the things about it would be great if, everybody gets to envision that. And so now it's not just my vision, it's a shared vision, right? And so it would be great if all these things happened, and that includes the horizontal group. We're all growing together. We're all seeing that future together.
That's right. And I think one of the other things to bring in here, and I know you and I have talked about this, is like, and I have to quote this lady, Elizabeth, Ross Cantor, who's the founder of the Advanced Leadership School at Harvard University. It's not enough to be a leader, you gotta be an advanced leader these days. But she really talks about when change happens to you, it's a threat. When it happens by you, it's an opportunity. So when we're all contributing to a vision or a shared vision or a desired future state, and you always talk about charging bayonets, now we're not following the leader as much as going together. Does that make sense? Does it really?
It really does. And the only reason it makes sense, so 2 months ago, I would have said, okay, put this crackpot in another state of a counselor or a consultant, because a lot of it goes over my head. But why it resonates now is because I've used the tools and I see the people lean in. And I see the people say, I envision that same state. We see it as a group. So baby steps, and then you see the result of, you say language. I probably use the word process because my brain thinks process. But language, you use that language which creates the process. The difference is, it's amazing. And
it is, and the other thing is when you bring this into a group, and everyone's saying it would be great if, and putting up these stickies like you have here, what happens is we got a lot of energy. We got a lot of positive energy, right? And that's really what we want when we want people motivated and in the game and in actively participating to the exercise, instead of sitting back, like you said, with their arms crossed. Everyone's in it and putting up forward. Changing the energy in the room, as we know, changes everything, right? And it starts with people.
And it does. And we start as a family, when the people are bringing their ideas, or they're bringing, wouldn't it be great if, they're talking about their future.
Exactly.
And this is now going to become their child, and it's going to become their business, and it's going to become their future. So they're sharing not just from the mental, they're sharing from their heart. It'd be great if we could be here in 40 years and Joe could be running the company. It would be great if he was still here and that was our trajectory. Because now these guys are sharing from their heart, right? This is now not just brain power, and we're going to do these magical things. This is people leaning in, saying, it'd be great if I was still here in 50 years and the company was still solid and I was still performing, and so you get that. And one of the things, we talk about this business being a business, a family disguised as a business, and these employees have been there for, some of them 40, 42, 45 years. And that's unheard of in today's world.
That's true.
Especially in our business and all the transformations it's gone through. But when you see that, you somehow they got ownership through leadership. Let's just not call it management. Let's use your word. Through leadership, they became invested in this company, and heart and soul. And really that's what we want. We all want to work together as a team, heart and soul, and have this shared vision. And so it seems easy, but if you're not introduced to it, it's hard to stop and just use simple tools to create answers for complex humanity, complex emotional, complex...
Okay, rather than create answers, I would say create options and possibilities, and that's what it is.
And create a future state.
Exactly right. So I think I'm hearing a few themes here to wrap this up. We keep talking about horizontal. You keep saying that.
Well, because it takes the whole group.
I agree. And it takes, we're talking about a different language. We're talking about a toolbox, which is frankly not that hard. I mean, it's a different way of thinking, and there's all these things. It sounds like, well, what's that? What's that? It's not that complicated. It is a different language, and it is a different way of thinking in a dynamic environment. Nothing is guaranteed anymore. We know that. So how to function in a dynamically changing environment? Well, you need skills for that ambiguity and complexity, which is everywhere, going back even to our family. And so it would be great if is an easy tool to use to think about a desired future state for anything. It would be great if we could have peace at this table during this meal. How could that happen,
with
guys?
With your mother-in-law. Think of that.
Right? So I'm just going to recommend try that
Sorry,
tool,
mother-in-law.
and let's see how it goes. But it would be great if, right?
Yeah. No, and it's great. And so, but again, it's simple stuff. But unless it's a tool that you can use consistently and you go to almost automatically, it's not something that you can use. You've got to be, and so training yourself to think differently and to use that tool is the hard part. It's not the hard part, but it's the hard part. but it gets easier when you see the immediate result.
Oh, the benefit, sure.
Yeah, and then one of the things about owning a business is you do not have time to go listen to a bunch of consultants pontificate on something that's out there that's not impacting current hardship. You need direct impact right now, right? We don't have bandwidth for a lot of time. It's just not. So
I mean, imagine going into a meeting and say, you guys, it would be great if we finish on time today, but it would be great if puts us in a place of a desired possibility.
Yeah, and I think when you're looking at that team and you're hearing all of their, wouldn't it be great if, you're hearing their dreams.
Yes, that's true.
And so now your shared vision is more secured. If you're willing to just write those down, get them on the sticky, and then talk about those, wouldn't it be great if, you're going to find out there's a lot of positive energy. There's a lot of hopeful people. There's a lot of people that know your business. I like to say boots on the ground that are bringing, wouldn't it be great? And now you're just creating this shared vision that says, wouldn't it be great if this company was this? Yes, okay, beautiful. That is the direction. I love it. That's where we're going because that is where we want to go. It would be awful if we didn't listen today and take these times to listen and gather this information. Wouldn't it be awful if we didn't do it today? Yes, it would. Because why? That's the beginning of failure.
Kent, thank you.
The Innovative Mind at Work podcast is sponsored by Vision Music Live, your source for music lessons and live performances in downtown Kirkland, Washington. Thanks for listening. For more information, check out theinnovativmindatwork.com. See you soon.